Wow, I don't think I've held my breath that much in a war movie since the Normandy beach scene in Saving Private Ryan. The new film from Sam Mendes is 1917, and the story is a pretty simple one. It involves two young British soldiers in World War I who have to go across no man's land and across battlefields into enemy territory to deliver a message to stop an impending battle because it's a trap. And of course, there's a time limit. They have less than a day to make this huge journey. You've probably heard by now how this is a continuous shot, or just one really long take. That it's filmed to look like it's one unending shot. I've linked a video to a featurette on how they accomplish this, especially how they transfer the camera from being handheld to a vehicle, to a rig, and then back again, amidst all of the action that is going on so that it appears flawless. It's in the description below so that you can watch that, so you can get just a better understanding of how they did it and you can visually see it, but don't click off just yet. Now, there's not a lot of dialogue in this, but when there is, it's delivered in just such a powerful way. It's also like watching a play, where all of the pressure sits on the actor to deliver their lines flawlessly, or else they risk just breaking all of the tension and the entire scene that has been built up. Now, this is a really tense movie. And like I said, it takes place in World War I, and there are a couple of battle scenes, but it's not like the battle scenes that we're used to seeing in war movies. They're not just grand in scale. They're not epic. They're not actually even that you see a lot of, just gunfighting. Most of it is done close up. It's intimate. It's one-on-one. Or you're seeing bullets fly at somebody. Or even you see people rushing like you've seen in the trailer and there's explosions going off. But we don't really see the enemy too much. And we don't see that interaction, that clashing that we do a lot of the times in your typical war movie. But I felt a lot of the tension in this in the quiet moments. They use the silence and even sometimes the score to slowly raise your blood pressure or to keep it at a heightened level. Dean-Charles Chapman and George Mackay are the two young British soldiers who are out on the journey. And while they both are good, Mackay is the one who carries this movie. I mean, the weight of everything is on his shoulders. If he can't pull this off as an actor, just convincingly, if we don't buy into him, if we don't like him, if we don't root for him and what he's trying to do, then the whole thing doesn't really work. Because if I don't care about the person that I'm watching going on this and the camera is following that person the whole time, then we got a problem there, right? But luckily, he kills it. I mean, he's great. He's very just charismatic, but quiet, brooding, and we don't really know anything about him. I really like that. He is a mystery to us, and he doesn't have to be explained. He doesn't have to have this huge backstory that we know for us to become invested in him. We get little bits and pieces here and there, but for the most part, he's a complete mystery, and he's just a reluctant type soldier, or maybe not even reluctant soldier. He's a great soldier, but he's reluctant really to just go on this journey because, well, it's probably certain death. There are some higher profile roles in this as well, and you've probably seen them in the trailers. There's Colin Firth, Andrew Scott, Mark Strong, and Benedict Cumberbatch. Now, each of them are relatively small in what they have to do, but each of them also has some really good dialogue and just delivers a wonderful performance in a very small amount of time. Now, I don't talk about soundtracks or scores very often, but this one is simply fantastic. And you may want to slap me for this. My kids may even come in and slap me for this. But I think at times it rivaled the Dark Knight score. It is so good. I mean, I can't wait to buy it on vinyl. I'm going to throw it onto my turntable and just let that play and just fill the house with this epic score. The music matches the tone and the pace of the film. And it really helps to drive us in the direction that the filmmakers are wanting us to go. Sometimes it ramps up the tension and the anxiety just as appropriate as it should. Sometimes it's a little calming. Other times it's just kind of quiet or barely there. Listening to it though, I mean, it stood out to me. There are key moments in the film where the score is really the thing that's moving everything along. I mean, yes, there's action going on, but the score is really helping to just tug at my heart to make me feel what I'm feeling, and it's beautiful to listen to. There's also a moment in this that reminded me a lot of the song sung by Billy Boyd in The Two Towers. I mean, it's beautifully haunting. It was just so good. And I loved that they put this in there and they let it breathe. That you really had time to experience it as the character is experiencing what's going on. And it was awesome. I can't stress enough how beautiful this movie was to watch and just how it was shot. I mean, sometimes you have these very close up, almost claustrophobic framing of shots. And then other times you have wide, expansive shots or even aerial shots. And it's crazy because you don't see the camera cut. It's not like they go, okay, here, and then all of a sudden we're cut over here and then we cut back. And so, they could switch things up or whatever. I mean, it's awesome. You'll watch a camera at one point goes outside of a building and looks down and then sees the character and then is on the ground following them. Oh, if they cut it at that point, I have zero idea how they did it. I cannot wait to buy the 4K on this, and I want to watch all of the special features. I hope they have a lot of just behind the scenes type of things on how they made it and how they shot it. Normally I don't watch any of that stuff on a Blu-ray or a 4K, but this one, absolutely. I want to see because I was mesmerized by what I was seeing on screen, and now I want to know how they did it. The pace of the film is really great too. I mean, it allows us to breathe, but it never lets us put our guard down. The tension is palpable and ever constant. You feel the pressure that the main character is feeling. He's in a race against time and distance. Now, luckily, I don't have to run that, but I am there in the time, even though it's compressed, obviously, because I'm not there for 8 hours in a theater watching this, but you feel it. And that's not a bad thing. It didn't make me like edge of my seat, like terror, but it was edge of my seat, anxious, as appropriate, just feeling the, oh my gosh, yes, rooting for him, wanting him to make it, and oh my gosh, what about this? And then this happens, and you're just along for this wild ride. It's crazy too how it never felt rushed. I mean, the entire time it was exactly how it was supposed to feel. I mean, I loved it. Pure awesomeness. Now, how historically accurate is this? I have no idea. I didn't go to see a documentary. I went to see an epic film shot beautifully in the theater. And that's what I got. Now, a lot of the times movies are just entertaining. It's rare nowadays where we point to a movie and we consider it real art, something that elevates the medium. Now, while I don't think the story of 1917 does that, I mean, it's a simple story. It's exactly what it needs, and it doesn't have to be overly complex to be awesome. But the filmmaking itself, the storytelling through visual aspects, that is what I think generations of filmmakers to come are going to look back on this and see, and just, it's going to be an influence on them. I mean, it really is a work of art. It is crazy at how much the continuous shot, or made to look like a continuous shot, draws you in. And at times, you may not even realize it. You may not realize that it doesn't cut away. But if you pay attention to that and then see it in the art aspect of, oh my gosh, what they had to do to get this, to tell us this story, to present it in the way that it's being presented to us, is a huge feat. Well, this isn't the end-all be-all of visual storytelling. It is not the pinnacle of filmmaking. Like, it all just ends now. We've reached the top and that's it. I'm glad I was around to see this in the theater. Think about it. It's a movie that looks like it's never stopped filming in ever-changing environments. It's not set in one locale. It's not just in a building locked in where they can walk around from room to room and everything is controlled. The lighting, the sound, the temperature, the climate, the weather itself, all of that. No, everything in this is totally unpredictable. It could have rained at one point. Who knows? I mean, there's water on the ground and it's muddy and it's in England or Scotland, wherever they filmed it at, made to look like France. But you're outside. You're dealing with unknowns. And for them to pull this off is nothing short of just spectacular. I love 1917. Yes, the story was simple, but it hooked me and captivated me with the visuals. There's no sex or nudity, there is some profanity, and because it's a war movie, there is some graphic violence and really violent imagery. I give 1917 5 out of 5 couches. Do you have a favorite war movie? Let me know what that is in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for catching with me.